1/3 of the way through the season, where does Tennessee stack up amongst some of the nation's best and college football playoff national championship contenders? Stat-wise and more, it's your Tuesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Can't thank you enough for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch here this morning and every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You know where it is, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that and more. Got a fun show coming up today. We're going to look statistically and show you exactly kind of how elite Tennessee is right now through 1/3 of the season. I think we can all agree as well that Tennessee's not played its best football yet, and that should be a good thing because you never want to peak in week 4. Should be a scary thing for Tennessee's teams that are left on the schedule. Where does Tennessee stack up amongst the SEC leaders and national leaders? That's coming up here in a matter of seconds, and then we'll get into plenty of your mailbag questions here in segments 2 and 3 as we venture on here on this bye week for Tennessee football, a chance to rest and recuperate. FanDuel.com is a proud sponsor of the show here today. You can place a $5 bet. You're going to get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed if you visit FanDuel.com to get started here today. So shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, so I can't remember if I mentioned this on the Monday show. I don't believe I did because we were so busy. But with Tennessee's win on the road at Oklahoma and seeing the schedule they have left to play with the 8 remaining games in the regular season, according to Tennessee's Football Power Index, where, mind you, Tennessee dropped a spot this week in the Football Power Index when Georgia was off, and Tennessee won on the road at number 15 in the country. I don't know how that works, but nonetheless, ESPN's FBI still really high on Tennessee, coming in at number 5 this week. The FBI over at ESPN.com gives Tennessee an 80.6% chance of making the college football playoff. Again, hay's not in the barn. Like, you still got to go out there and play your games, and that's given Tennessee a chance to where if you lose 2 games, you're still likely to make the college football playoff, but you don't want to get blown out in those 2 losses, right? And you certainly want to handle business against the teams you're supposed to handle business with, and Tennessee might even be favored. I mean, especially if you go into that game undefeated like I would anticipate at third Saturday in October. Tennessee probably is going to be favored in that game at Neyland Stadium against the Crimson Tide. So, I mean, obviously you can very much win that game. And I think the way Tennessee's stacked up this year, you have a chance to win on the road at Georgia. I'm not saying I'm going to call it. Certainly that's something for a game week. But nonetheless, point is, Tennessee's in a really, really good position right now. 80.6% chance to make the college football playoff, 17.8% chance to make the national championship game, 9.2% chance to be national champions. All this according to ESPN's Football Power Index. We also have Tennessee with the projected win-loss total. Wins 10.5, losses 1.8. So, anywhere from 11-1 to 10-2, but that's kind of where we, at least 10-2 was where the majority of us picked Tennessee entering this season. So Tennessee's, really, really good here entering the first 4 weeks. Tennessee's got the 11th toughest schedule left remaining in the country right now, 53rd on schedule so far that they've played, but 11th toughest slate remaining in college football at this point in time. Team is really kind of ranked up there, pretty high up there in a number of statistical categories. You've got the defense, which is ranked number 1 in the country, allowing 176 yards per game so far. Number 2 in rush defense. The Volunteers are allowing 50.8 yards per game. Number 2 in the country in third down defense. 17% of the time is when offenses are picking up first downs against Tennessee on third downs. The thing with Oklahoma is Oklahoma had a lot of first downs. We'll actually revisit that here in a moment. Oklahoma had a lot of first downs in that game, but they weren't coming on third downs. They were like 3 of 16 on third downs. I mean, it was pretty incredible, Tennessee's third down defense in that game. Tennessee's allowed just 2 touchdowns this season, 2 touchdowns in the last 20 quarters played. The defense has allowed 1 passing play this year that has exceeded 30 yards or more down the field and held all 4 opponents that it's faced under 75 yards rushing. So, not bad. Now, I will remind you, there's got to be a disclaimer in there, right? Because, of course, we're not through the heart of the schedule yet, but also Tennessee hasn't faced a good offense yet right now. We thought NC State's offense will be pretty good. It's not so far. Oklahoma, we knew that it's been struggling offensively and dealing with tons of injuries and no run game. And the fact that Tennessee forced a quarterback change in the second quarter is just mind-blowing to me. But Oklahoma does not have a good offense, whereas Oklahoma has a really good defense, in my opinion. And we know Kent State's not anything. We know UTC is not the level of competition of Tennessee. So my point is Tennessee's defense, though it's been nationally elite, hasn't played a good offense yet. So I'm intrigued to see kind of what that looks like. I think Tennessee's going to hold its own. I think Tennessee's going to continue to be really, really good, but it has not faced a good offense yet. I will put that in there. Offensively, though, it's not the blowouts have dictated some of the way Tennessee's gone about its offensive game plan. We talked about it yesterday on how Tennessee, went conservative after getting away with 2 strip sack fumbles in the first half at Oklahoma, getting its quarterback killed a couple of times, down to your backup offensive tackles. At 19-3, we talked about how Tennessee went conservative play calling in the second half, playing that elite defense and running the football after gaining 73 yards on the ground in the second quarter. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. I'm just saying that all those factors contributed to why Tennessee changed its game plan, at least play calling in the second half against Oklahoma. Still, Tennessee's defense overall from the body of work through the third of the season, not bad. It's ranked second in the country at 54 points per game, fourth in total offense at 565 yards per game, sixth in rushing at 290 yards a game, seventh in first downs gained at 104, and 15th in passing efficiency at 171.99. Again, those are skewed a bit because Kent State's nothing, UTC's FCS, NC State, Tennessee just ran all over it, and Tennessee struggled at times, had to dictate what it does, but still able to find some success, at least on the ground, running for over 150 yards, barely, but it did against the Sooners, which again I think is a pretty stout defense. You want to look at where some of these Tennessee players rank stat-wise in the SEC. I'm going to share my screen here if you're watching on YouTube, and you can kind of see it for yourself. In the SEC right now, Dylan Sampson, who, mind you, has played probably 11 of the 16 available quarters this year due to blowouts. He's second in the SEC in rushing, almost a little less than 30 yards behind what Jaquindon Jackson of Arkansas is doing. 449 yards rushing for Dylan Sampson, behind the 472 of the leader. That's number 2 in the conference. And here's something. How about Deshaun Bishop? Deshaun Bishop is a top 10 rusher in the Southeastern Conference. 287 yards rushing. That's 8th best in the conference. And here's the difference. Of all the players who are top 10 in the conference in rushing right now, Deshaun Bishop has easily the least amount of carries at 38. Of the top 10 rushers in the conference, Deshaun Bishop has the biggest yards per carry average, and that's at 7.6, slightly better than Henry Parrish Jr. of Ole Miss at 7.5. So I found that interesting. Tennessee's run game, of course, doing some work. Passing-wise, Nico Iamaleava currently right now is 7th in the SEC in passing at 223 yards per game, 892 overall. You have no Tennessee receiver in the top 10 because Tennessee's been spreading the wealth. Scoring, Dylan Sampson leads the SEC in scoring with 60 points, 10 rushing touchdowns. Max Gilbert is second in the Southeastern Conference in points and scoring with 54 points on 10 made field goals and 24 point after. So he's averaging 13.5 points a game, where Dylan Sampson is averaging 15 points per game. It's not bad when Tennessee's got 1-2 in scoring in the Southeastern Conference. Punt returns, Tennessee's got 3 punt returns, ranking in the top 10 in terms of yards per average. Total offense, Nico Iamaleava ranks 6th in the SEC in total offense. Total offense so far, averaging 252 yards of total offense per game. And again, those numbers will climb whenever you're throwing for 4 quarters. All-purpose, Dylan Sampson ranks 3rd in the SEC in all-purpose with 129 yards per game. That's behind Jaquindon Jackson and Trey Harris of Ole Miss. Jackson, of course, of Arkansas. And then Max Gilbert, again, coming in 2nd right now, 2nd in the conference with 10 made field goals. He is 10 of 11 on the season. Blake Craig of Missouri is the only field goal kicker in the conference who has made more. Now, here's interesting, though. Blake Craig is 11 for 16 attempts on the year for Missouri's Blake Craig. He's made more than Max Gilbert by 1, but Max Gilbert's average is much, much better. He's 10 of 11, whereas Blake Craig is 11 of 16. Tennessee's doing a really, really good job in terms of the overall leaderboard in the Southeastern Conference. You look at Tennessee defensively, they're not really high up there on anything. Joshua Josephs has leading the conference in fumble recoveries. He's got 2. You got Jermon McCoy, who is ranked 4th in the SEC with 4 passes broken up. These blowouts kind of skew the numbers defensively as well. But overall, Tennessee, I mean, again, I've said this a couple of times, you are exactly where you want to be, 4-0, a first third of the way through the season. And now you have a bye week to where you can get healthy. And I'll talk about the injuries at offensive tackle here in the mailbag edition of the show. You have a chance to get healthy over the bye week and continue to work on some things that might be plaguing you. 2-minute offense, red zone scoring, stuff like that offensively. But so far, so good. Not just good. Statistically, it's kind of elite here so far in the season for the University of Tennessee. So not bad whatsoever. Hey, when we come back, we will jump into your mailbag questions. All that and so much more as we continue on here with this Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. 5-hour energy fixes tired fast. Guys, away trips, traveling, I love seeing other parts of the Southeastern Conference. I love seeing college football on the road, but weekends are tough when you travel. I left Knoxville at 5 o'clock at McGee-Tyson on Friday evening. I got back to McGee-Tyson Sunday at noon, okay? And so I was, driving from Tulsa to Norman, before and after the game. It was a very busy, very tiring weekend, but something that got me through on that 2 a.m. drive back from Norman to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and catching that 7 a.m. flight was a 5-hour energy. So much. It gives you that energy to do things that you need to do for work and at home. Also, those late night games on Saturday nights, grab a 5-hour energy shot to stay alert, watching all your favorite games or staying up to see that intense overtime game. Oh my gosh, what was that game on Friday night? It was Pac-12 or Mountain West or whatever. I forgot the game that it was, but it went into like 2 overtimes, and I was watching that all because I had a 5-hour energy shot earlier in the day, and it was able to fuel me up and keep me alert and ready to roll. Anyway, zero sugar, convenient, portable size. The perfect pick-me-up to get stuff done. Watermelon flavor, my favorite, tropical burst, grape, berry, so much more. You can have 12, 24 packs, mix and match, all that and more over at 5hourenergy.com. That's 5hourenergy, the number 5.com. Put in this promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Promo code LOCKEDONCFB for 20% off your order. It's offered through September the 30th. Cannot be used on other promotions. Code is not good on subscription orders, but go to 5hourenergy.com today to go ahead and get started. Check it out. You need it. 5-hour energy this football season. All right, want to get into your mailbag questions here on the show. We do it every single Tuesday. You everydayers, when you get to take over the show, you ask me questions. You voice your comments, your concerns, Tennessee football, basketball, baseball, recruiting questions, all that and more. And, once we get in the season, I really like getting these reactions. You guys send them in, I bookmark them, and I kind of bring it on the show. So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll dive down into it. We'll go to the YouTube channel, and JX Smith says, did Squirrel collect enough nuts this summer to go across the middle in the winter? Go Vols. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee so far, Brew McCoy leads the receivers with like 12 receptions. Chris Brazel's second with 11. Squirrel White is third with, I think, 8. He had that drop over the middle when he kind of laid out, and I thought that was a ball that he should have caught, honestly. He gave good effort, but I thought that was a ball still he should have caught. Squirrel's going to get going. Don't get me wrong. Squirrel's going to get going, and he's going to be a big reason why I think this Tennessee offense is going to do a lot of good things this year. Also, Dante Thornton, I know this is a question about Squirrel, but how about Dante Thornton just literally turning into the new Javonte Payton? I mean, he's got 7 receptions on the year, 3 touchdowns. I mean, his yards per catch is like at 36 yards. Pretty incredible, right? Let's go to Ryan. Says, is it just me or does everybody have flashbacks of Eric Berry when Jacoby Thomas lays the wood on ball carriers? I know where you're coming from. I hear you. I'm going to hold off on the Eric Berry comparisons, but you're saying about Eric Berry coming down and laying the wood and hitting, and that's what Jacoby Thomas does, man. That hit on the sideline, him and Boo Carter to Javonte Barnes. Whew. Of course, the targeting penalty last week, he had his head down, and it makes me cringe thinking about it, but of course that was a big hit. He's got a nose for the football, man. Jacoby Thomas is a good football player so far. I'm intrigued to see how Tennessee's safeties react to passes over the top as you get stretched more vertically in Southeastern Conference play. But I get what you're saying there. I think Jacoby Thomas is a good player for sure. Let's go to David. Should the SEC fine teams for poor field conditions or maintenance? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this isn't high school football, right? I mean, high school football in the Knoxville area, every team has turf, right? The majority of those teams have turf, at least in Knox and in Knox County limits. You sometimes see better field conditions elsewhere than you do at the Southeastern Conference. This is the Southeastern Conference, and I'll get on a little soapbox here just for a moment. I'm not too passionate about it because my experience at Oklahoma was a good experience. I thought the fans were great. I thought the sports information staff was really good. I mean, I have no huge complaints, but let me say this. Number one, no coffee in the press box. Maybe they heard I was coming and they took away the coffee because they heard about my spill in the UTC game and the Neyland Stadium press conference. Maybe that's the case, but you have a night game and you have media, and some media have to drive back to Tulsa. We need caffeine, okay? So the fact that there was no coffee in the press box, well, what are we doing here? The Wi-Fi was a shared Wi-Fi. It's pathetic. You're in the Southeastern Conference now. Get your butt in gear. Shared Wi-Fi for the press box people? Are you kidding me? That's pathetic. There was something else. The food, they ran out of food at one point in time, but it's okay. Your boy already got some. At halftime, apparently, I didn't go up and get any, but apparently they had cookies at halftime, and the guy came on the PA in the press box and said, we have cookies up here, one per person. This is the Southeastern Conference. Get your crap in gear. But more than anything, that field, right? I mean, what are we doing here? South Carolina a couple years ago was sand. I mean, that was pathetic. This game was dangerous. You saw guys on both teams slipping around. So to answer your question, and I'll get off my high horse here, should the SEC fine teams for not having good field whenever it's like that? 100%. 100%. I'll be intrigued to see how Tennessee's field recovers from the two-concert binger over the weekend from Morgan Wallen as well. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Evan says, how is the matchup looking between Texas and Tennessee in your opinion, if that is who it comes down to in the SEC championship game? I got to be completely honest with you. I haven't watched Texas play one football game this year because I've been covering Tennessee, and I haven't dove down into their stats. I know Arch came in and started, looked good. He threw a couple of picks, threw a couple of touchdowns as well. I know they got Ryan Wingo going. I know Quinn Ewers is a really, really good player, when healthy, of course. I know they lost a running back, I believe, but overall, I can't answer that right now because I haven't watched or studied Texas, to be completely honest with you. But focus on the games at hand first. You got some pretty big ones coming up. But I appreciate you, Evan. Chris says, so does Willie Martinez get credit for the DB play? I feel like people were saying he couldn't develop. Yeah, I mean, so far the secondaries look good. I like the fact that they're playing guys at safety. I like the fact that they're rotating. I really, really do. I like the fact that when healthy, Boo and Christian Harrison are both splitting star. Tennessee's corners are good, and that's what Willie Martinez coaches, mind you. Tim Banks technically has the safeties and the star. Willie Martinez has the cornerbacks. I know Willie Martinez's title is defensive backs coach, but Tim Banks, the DC, coaches the safeties. And the best thing about outside the well, I was going to say obviously outside the defensive line. I was going to say outside the backers, but I think Tennessee's linebackers are playing well. My point is Tennessee's corners, Jamal McCoy and Ricky Gibson, are pretty good. I think Willie Martinez deserves some credit for sure. Let's go here. At this point in the season, is it concerning that James Pierce still doesn't have a sack? He for sure missed one against OU. Do you still believe that the stats will come? Yeah, I do. Why? Because James Pierce leads the, not the SEC, I haven't checked that, but James Pierce leads Tennessee with quarterback hurries. James Pierce has 10 quarterback hurries, and the next closest, I believe, has 5. He's in position a lot of times. He's missed a couple of plays, no doubt about it. He missed one. He missed a bad one the other day against Oklahoma. But sometimes he's getting held. Sometimes he's missing. He's still wreaking havoc back there for the quarterback. So because the QBHs are up, the QB hurries are up, yes, I believe the stats will continue to come for James Pierce. Was the tempo slowed down as a result of the hostile environment of the game plan? No. Tennessee controlled its own tempo. You saw there on that touchdown drive with Dylan Sampson where they ran it every time before the half. They went tempo on that drive. They had one false start penalty, pre-snap penalty. And, again, the game day environment was not bad at all. It was not like we've seen at other places, Florida last year, Georgia 2 years ago, stuff like that. Has Elijah Simmons played this whole season? I don't remember seeing him before the Oklahoma game. Yep, he's played in every game. He just started the Oklahoma game and made the play on snap 1. That's probably why he jumped out at you. Plus, he's a big boy wearing that number 10 jersey. Do we stand a chance against Bama and Georgia if the offense has another game like that? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Tennessee changed the way it's played offensively. Do I think that's going to be the norm throughout the year? Heck no. But I'll continue to say, I mean, they didn't protect their quarterback. You got away with 2 strip sacks. You got away with your quarterback getting drilled on those plays. You got away with turning the football over and Oklahoma not turning that into points. Tennessee got away with things in that first half. Couple that with playing with 2 backup tackles, with finding your run game in the second quarter. Again, 7 rushing yards in the first quarter, 73 rushing yards for Tennessee in the second quarter. And then couple with the way your defense is playing, and oh yeah, you have a 19-3 lead. Again, it's not sexy. I recognize it, and I can't tell you how to fan or what to think, and I would never try to. But there are some comments I'm seeing out there about how Heupel coach scared, or Heupel wanted to be respectful of his old team. Guys, I promise you, Josh Heupel wanted to score 175,000 points in that 60-minute football game against Oklahoma. Trust me, it's like going back and seeing your ex flame and flaunting your new flaunting your new piece on your arm there, or your wife or whatever. You want to show everybody how good you're doing it because maybe she dumped you or maybe they fired you. You want to show everybody how good you're doing it. Josh Heupel still loves Oklahoma, still loves the people there, loves his time there and everything, but he loves being a Vol right now. He loves what he's building. He loves his fan base, and he's having success. So in no shade, I know this is not from this question from whoever I'm on right now, but it just kind of got me off on another tangent. No way in hell did Josh Heupel try to show respect to his former team by not trying to score enough points. I promise you, respectfully, that's silly if you know who Josh Heupel is. My opinions. But the way the game was dictated at that point in time, why risk anything? Why risk the lead of your football game? Go to the maximums, protect your lead, protect your quarterback, run the football, play defense. That was a general Neyland game right there. The maximums to a T. It wasn't sexy, but it was to a T. Just get the win, and that's what Tennessee did. Let's see here. So again, back to the question at hand from Ryan. I don't expect Tennessee to be that conservative play calling against Alabama and Georgia. You can't win that game if you are. Got to protect. You've got to protect more. You got to protect your quarterback. Why did we start Davis at left tackle instead of Campbell? Campbell's been repping nothing but right tackle, dating back to spring and in fall camp, whereas Dane Davis has been flip-flopping left and right as the primary backup. So that is why there's that. And if safety and corner blitzes are so unblockable, then why don't we do that every single play? I thought the adjustments to OK blitzing was very lacking. I agree. Tennessee's offensive line did not have a good day, in my opinion. Now, the pressure off the edge, your tight end / H-back or / running back, whoever's that extra protection there at that situation, you got to help. You got to help on blitzers. It starts with the offensive tackle. The one on the right side, Dane just whiffed, okay? It starts with the offensive tackle. I recognize that. But also, Sampson got jerked out of the ball game because, he missed that block as well, and he didn't recognize it. And Deshaun Bishop, the same on the right side. Your running backs have got to help too, but it starts with the offensive tackle for sure. So there's that. We got plenty more questions to get into. Trust me, plenty of more questions to get into, and we'll get into those when we return here for segment number 3 of a Tuesday show. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You've got some long games over there, some projections over there over at FanDuel Sportsbook. You've got the upcoming games. This weekend Tennessee's not in action, but of course there is a big-time football game going on. Alabama, Georgia, Texas is back in the fold as well. So go get your play and put some coin in your pocket over at America's #1 sportsbook, where you can make every moment more. That is FanDuel. Hey guys, appreciate you checking out this Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. It's your first listen, your first watch. For your second, your third listen and watch, check out Locked On College Football. Check out Locked On SEC. Lots going on in this college football season. I told you, you blink and it's gone, right? I mean, we're already a third of the way through the regular season. Can you believe that? It stinks. So consume all this football content as much as you can, because it is a long off season and we just got through it. And gosh, man, we're already a third of the way through the season. Let's get back to your mailbag questions. We'll go to Kurt, since Josh Heupel was back in Knoxville for Sunday's Morgan Wallen show. Could he have used the concert as any type of recruiting tactic, or would that be considered improper benefits? I mean, he couldn't, nor did he, invite recruits to come to the concert. I mean, it's not a game, so he didn't do that. I mean, the biggest beneficiary for Tennessee, and the same for Tennessee baseball. Friday night, you had the national champions come out. You had Blake Berg, you had Christian Moore, Dylan Dryling, Xander Seacrest, Kirby Cannell. I'm trying to remember if I'm forgetting anybody. Dean Curley and Tony Vitello walk out with him. I mean, that is so freaking cool, right? I mean, if you're a high school prospect looking to go play college baseball and forego your draft out of high school, because that's the type of player that Tony Vitello and Josh Elander and Frank Anderson are getting into campus, right? It's those, most of the time, it's like, oh, they can go have a pro career right now, but they wanted to come here. And that's kind of the difference in the quality of player. If you're sitting there watching that concert and you see the Tennessee baseball team go out there, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. That is so cool. And the same with Tennessee football. Nico went out there the other day. Josh Heupel, Brew McCoy, Peyton Manning in full gear. I mean, that was awesome. Like, it's just perception-wise, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. I saw a tweet, and Boogie and I talked about this on my Hit Monday morning. I forgot who it's from. I believe it's a podcaster for Kentucky. He tweeted something and it said, I hate that school, I hate that colors, but you're naive to believe that they're not it right now. And I thought that was the best way to describe it. They're it. It is the cool thing right now. And that, in terms of recruiting, goes so far. So, like, nobody could be in attendance for that. Nobody gave it, Heupel didn't give out tickets for that. But, seeing football recruits, seeing Josh Heupel on that stage, seeing Nico on that stage, seeing Brew McCoy on that stage, shoot, man, can't beat it. Jonathan King says, what is the sense of urgency to get the explosive offense that Heupel's offense is known for? It is fairly obvious in your mind that significant work needs to be done, or is it the safe approach to winning games going to continue to be enough? Now, Saturday was kind of different, okay? Tennessee had some explosives, but also Tennessee took the pedal off the metal offensively in the second half play calling. But you still had a couple of explosives to Dante Thornton. You still had two explosives to Brew McCoy. Had a couple 10-yard runs in that game from Sampson and Deshaun Bishop. Not many, but it was that combination of a couple of explosives, but also conservative. That is not going to be the norm for Tennessee being conservative. I promise you that. Now, if you get in a game and you muck it up and you get in a similar situation, maybe so. I think a testament to a good offensive coach or a good coach in general is finding ways to win games in different ways. And Tennessee did that on Saturday. But do I think that's going to be the norm? Heck no. I think Tennessee's going to score a ton. I think Tennessee's going to be aggressive for sure. But the explosive plays are back in this offense. 20 yards down the field, 10-yard plus runs, using the middle of the field. They've returned this year through the early going, for sure. And I think that's going to be a norm. Let's go to Blake. What if Joe Milton never got hurt during the Pittsburgh game? Just seems like a fun one to think about. This is my opinion, personal opinion. But, I mean, who's to know, right? I memean, we have no way of knowing. Hendon Hooker was not who he was at that point in time, right? He was not Hendo Cinco at that point in time, right? He was a guy that was a, fourth or fifth year guy at Virginia Tech that was honestly had very much Jared Garantano tendencies when he came here to Tennessee, to be honest with you, in terms of, not turning the football over an awful lot, completion percentage very respectable, stuff like that. But I think eventually Joe Milton would have gotten benched and Hendon would have went in. But Joe Milton kind of had not a saving grace, I don't want to call it that, but he did have an injury to where it's like, oh, well, he had to be taken out of the game. And then it was easy to say, well, we can't put you back in. Look what Hendon's doing. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be. Let's see here. Big Dirty says, I can't keep up the Lord's work. Go Vols. Did the field conditions at OU play any part of Coach Josh Heupel's decision to slow down the tempo to keep his players from getting injured? From TV, that field looked like absolute garbage. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I think the biggest thing and why Josh Heupel went conservative and Joey Halsey went conservative offensively was the fact that you just couldn't protect your quarterback. You couldn't protect your quarterback. You got away with 2 strip sacks when your quarterback got demolished. How many more times do you want to put Nico in that situation, or this lead in that situation? The only way Oklahoma was going to come back and make that a football game was if they stole one from Tennessee. And that, I mean, again, at that point in time, Tennessee was proving it couldn't really, protect its quarterback. So I think that had the biggest thing to do with it, more so than anything. But maybe, I mean, to your point, the field condition was awful. Betting line, if the betting line came out today for Florida matchup at 10.5, for Tennessee, would you take it? Hold on. I'm going to look something up real quick because I did some research on this coming into this podcast. Okay, so let me reset this. Winner speaks. If the betting line came out today for the Florida matchup at minus 10.5 for Tennessee, would you take it? Knowing what the two teams are right now, it seems like an easy bet to make, but they always seem to show up for Tennessee no matter how good or bad we are or where. 100%, I agree. Reach out to my buddy Tyler Wyatt. He's a partner over at Odds Culture. And I said, where do you have this line, this early line for Tennessee and Florida? And he said right now he has it at Tennessee minus 17.5, the total at 62.5. And if that holds, that would be the that would be the fourth highest spread in series history. So I would even take it at 17.5 right now for Tennessee, according to Tyler Wyatt, for Tennessee at home against this Florida team. I recognize, I get it. Tennessee, Florida is never easy, but at home, yeah, I would like that as well. I would certainly take the 10.5. Viva Las Vols says, any insight onto why Hurd didn't at least travel with the team? You'd think he'd want to be there for his team. Yeah, sometimes it's different situations. A lot of times, typically injured guys don't travel. Sometimes exceptions are made. I don't really know exactly what went into this circumstance or why he wasn't there, but like I know at points in time, Tennessee has traveled an injured guy or two. But I think that just kind of depends on the situation and the player. But I don't know about that. Jared says, what do you think the reasons for Selden are for not playing? He's gotten passed right now because he was hurt. Deshaun Bishop's taking advantage of his opportunities, and so Deshaun Bishop deserves to play. Deserves to play wholeheartedly. Right? I'm not saying that Cam Selden stinks, but Deshaun Bishop deserves to play right now because he took the job and ran with it. No pun intended. Love Dane, but we got beat twice there. It's imperative we get someone else ready as a backup in case Hurd goes down again. Dane's going to be the backup. Dane's going to be the backup for both tackles. More so than anything, you need to get the starters on the field. Hurd's got to come back and play, and John Campbell's got to make it more than 30 snaps in a football game. That's the issue here, in my opinion. Yes, I understand Dane Davis got beat. He had a bad game, man. He'd be the first one to tell you. He had a bad game. But Dane Davis is still going to be the primary tackle backup, in my opinion. I think Jesse Perry's going to be a good one. I think this bye week could be big for him, but I don't know if he's close to being ready for that. And then I'll go back and watch the tape on Larry Johnson. I don't think he was bad. I would still trust Dane Davis more than Larry Johnson. I know a lot of you guys are probably rolling your eyes right now, but at this point in time, I think that's kind of where the coaching staff is too. But we'll go back and see it. The Dane Davis offensive tackle conversation is as simple as this: your starters have got to get back on the field. You got to get back on the field. You got to play. And you know that's the biggest thing, because again, Tennessee was playing with his third and fourth string tackle last night. Okay, and in the grand scheme of 1 through 4. And there's not a lot of teams in the country that are going to feel great about that situation if they're put in there. But Tennessee was. And Tennessee found a way to make it work and still got that run game going. What needs to get cleaned up over the bye? Focus on turnovers, focus on red zone scoring, focus on 2-minute offense, and focus on not being so penalized. Goodness gracious. Got to cut down the penalties. Drew Parsons, is UT's D-line success because of or in spite of James Pierce's quiet season? I think it's neither, man. I just think that there's a lot of ball players there. I think Tyree West and I think Dominic Bailey benefit from James Pierce being on the other side like Tyler Barron did last year. But also I think Joshua Joseph is a player. I think that Jackson Moy and Jason Jenkins and Elijah Simmons and some of these guys, I think they're just players, right? I just think that you got a good group of ball players up there on one unit, and that's really good for Rodney Gardner. Last question. Any expectations for Squirrel's role to increase? Feel like he's been relatively quiet so far. Yeah, I spoke on that a little bit earlier. I think Squirrel's going to be fine because he plays the slot receiver in this offense, and I do think that Tennessee's going to be throwing it a little bit more once you get into SEC play for sure. I just had tipped Oklahoma's defense the other night. They had some good DBs. They had a good rush defense. Tennessee just changed everything it was doing because it had a lead and the defense was playing so well against an Oklahoma offense that had 10 drives that didn't go 10 yards. I mean, that's just kind of the way that was. I'm going to end on this. I bookmarked this from I believe it was an Oklahoma fan on Twitter. Oklahoma had 15 first down snaps in that football game. Listen to how they went. Barnes run for a 5-yard loss. Arnold incomplete pass. Arnold run for loss of 2 yards. These are all first down plays. Pass to Burks for 3 yards. Arnold interception. Incomplete pass. Burke runs for 7 yards. Arnold incomplete pass. Thompson catch for 12 yards. Sawchuk run for no gain. Arnold fumble. Barnes negative 2-yard run, safety. Barnes caught for negative 2 yards. Arnold backward pass, fumble. Fumble recovered by Hawkins. I mean, what? 15 plays, 7 total yards, 3 turnovers, and a safety on first down for Oklahoma the other day. Again, hat tip to that defense. Goodness gracious. This has been a Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We're going to dive back down into some Pro Football Focus numbers from that Oklahoma win. We'll continue to evaluate where this team is right now. At some point this week, we'll say kind of one of these questions a moment ago, what Tennessee needs to be working on this week over the bye week before its next game. All that and more coming up as the week goes on. Plus, Josh Ward will join us for Award Wednesday show coming up tomorrow. Guys, appreciate it. Tell your friends. This is how you start your day. Locked On Vols, your one-stop shop for Tennessee football news, insights, and entertainment every weekday right here. It is Locked On Vols.